In a moment that stunned the world, Princess Charlotte, at just 8 years old, broke her silence during King Charles's coronation, sending shockwaves through the royal family and beyond. While the grand ceremony unfolded with regal tradition, it was Charlotte's quiet, deliberate defiance that captured everyone's attention. When the royal family bowed to King Charles, Charlotte's graceful bow to the monarch was perfect. But when it came time to acknowledge Queen Consort Camilla, she did the unthinkable. A small act of rebellion, yet one that spoke volumes. Stay tuned as we dive into this historic moment that no one saw coming. Princess Charlotte's poised defiance, a royal moment at the coronation. The grandeur of King Charles III's coronation was a spectacle that held the attention of millions worldwide, a historic event that would be etched into the annals of the monarchy forever. Westminster Abbey, with its towering Gothic arches and centuries-old traditions, set the stage for a ceremony unlike any other. Crowds gathered in awe, paying homage to a legacy that had endured over 1,000 years. Yet, amid the regal pageantry, it was Princess Charlotte, the young daughter of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, who would unintentionally steal the limelight with a subtle but striking display of poise and defiance. While the world's attention was naturally drawn to the newly crowned King Charles III and Queen Consort Camilla, it was Charlotte's careful actions, seemingly small but deliberate, that captured the imagination of those who closely observed her. Though a mere 8 years old, Charlotte exhibited a remarkable awareness of the significance of the occasion and the complex dynamics at play within the royal family. It was a royal moment that not only showcased her growing maturity but hinted at tensions and challenges simmering beneath the surface of the monarchy, particularly within the royal family itself. A ceremony of tradition and unspoken tensions. Westminster Abbey, as it had countless times before, echoed with the timeless rhythms of royal tradition during the coronation of King Charles III. The ceremony was a carefully orchestrated display of centuries-old customs, rituals, and oaths, marking the official ascent of Charles to the throne. The gilded robes, sacred oaths, and the thunderous sound of 1,000 voices in unison paid tribute to a legacy that had shaped the world for over a millennium. For most, it was a day of reverence, a day that reaffirmed the monarchy's continuity in an ever-changing world. However, what appeared at first to be a serene, almost otherworldly gathering quickly became a theater of subtle power plays, complex family relationships, and shifting dynamics within the royal household. The attention of the public was inevitably focused on King Charles III, who, after decades of waiting, finally ascended to his long-deserved role as monarch. Beside him stood Queen Consort Camilla, whose role as a consort had been marked by both triumphs and challenges. Camilla, once seen by many as a divisive figure in the royal family due to her tumultuous history with Charles and her role in the breakdown of his marriage to Princess Diana, had spent years navigating public and private scrutiny. On the surface, her regal poise suggested acceptance, the culmination of years of hard work to repair her image and assert her place by Charles's side. But her posture during the coronation, as she stood at the foot of the Abbey's altar, revealed something more, a desire to assert authority, to stake her claim as Queen Consort, and perhaps more subtly, to remind those around her of her position within the family. Yet, for all of Camilla's carefully cultivated composure, there were moments during the coronation that hinted at unresolved tensions and the complexities of her relationships within the royal family. Notably, her interactions with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, were brief but telling. The two exchanged pleasantries, but the undercurrent of something more strained simmered beneath the surface. At one moment, observers noted that Camilla's gesture toward Catherine was slightly pointed, and the briefest of glances exchanged between the two women spoke volumes about the unspoken tensions at play. This subtle friction between the two women, as they both sought to navigate their roles within the royal family, set the stage for the revelation of another unexpected dynamic: the quiet strength of Princess Charlotte. Amid the formalities of the coronation, Princess Charlotte emerged as a central figure, quietly asserting her presence in ways that belied her young age. Dressed in a stunning white gown with a tiara delicately perched atop her head, Charlotte epitomized the elegance expected of a royal child. She followed her parents, Prince William and Catherine, through the grand ceremony with the poise of someone who understood the gravity of the occasion. Yet, as she moved through the proceedings, it became clear that there was something deeper at play, something more than just a dutiful participation in the ceremony. Charlotte, though only 8, seemed acutely aware of the significance of her role, and her behavior during the event was markedly different from the other children present. She was observant, keenly attuned to the ceremony's nuances, and appeared to grasp not just the pomp of the occasion, but also the complexities of the relationships unfolding around her. Unlike her younger brother, Prince Louis, who displayed his usual youthful exuberance, Charlotte was reserved, thoughtful, and seemingly focused on more than just the ceremony at hand. But it wasn't just her quiet demeanor that caught the attention of those present. It was the deliberate nature of her every action. As she observed the proceedings, Charlotte's gaze frequently shifted toward the royal family's senior members. She seemed to gauge their reactions, as though reading the room and internalizing the dynamics at play. Her awareness was beyond her years, and it was clear that Charlotte was not just a passive participant in the day's events. She was actively engaged, processing the complexities of her royal heritage and the family tensions that accompanied it. The gesture that shook the royal family. As the coronation ceremony unfolded, there was one particular moment that would send shockwaves through the royal family and make headlines around the world. Camilla, seated beside Charles, leaned slightly toward Catherine, Princess of Wales, and made a sharp, almost imperceptible gesture toward Princess Charlotte. It was a brief exchange, one that lasted only a few seconds, but it sent ripples of tension through the royal pews. Camilla's gesture was unmistakably pointed. With her chin raised, she swept her hand toward Charlotte, an action that conveyed a sense of dissatisfaction with the young princess's behavior. To the untrained eye, it might have appeared as a simple, albeit abrupt, gesture. But to those who were watching closely, it was something more, a subtle yet powerful display of authority, a reminder from Camilla that she was the Queen Consort and expected her role to be respected. What was perhaps most striking about this exchange was not just the action itself, but Charlotte's response, or rather her lack of response. The young princess, maintaining her composure, kept her hands neatly folded in her lap and gave no outward indication of reacting to Camilla's pointed gesture. Charlotte remained still, focused and calm, refusing to let the moment distract her from the bigger picture. Her silence in this instance was as loud as any word could have been. It was a statement of defiance, one that conveyed a quiet strength and an unbending poise in the face of the complexities surrounding her. Catherine, ever the epitome of grace and composure, responded in kind. Her face remained serene, but those who observed closely noticed the brief flicker of steel in her eyes. She straightened her posture and braced herself, almost as though preparing for what might come next. The subtle exchange between Camilla and Catherine spoke volumes about the intricate web of relationships within the royal family, relationships that are shaped by power, tradition, and legacy. In that moment, Charlotte's role as a young royal in the modern monarchy became all the more apparent. The legacy of Camilla and her complex position. Queen Consort, Camilla's journey to the throne has been a long and tumultuous one, filled with controversy, challenges, and an ongoing effort to gain acceptance both from the public and within the royal family. Her relationship with Charles, which began while he was still married to Princess Diana, cast a long shadow over her role in the monarchy. For years, Camilla was seen as the other woman, the person who had disrupted the fairy tale marriage between Charles and Diana, and she was often vilified in the media. Diana's famous remark in her 1995 interview with the BBC, in which she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," cemented Camilla's image as an outsider, a figure associated with heartbreak, betrayal, and scandal. The public's backlash was fierce, and even after Diana's tragic death, Camilla's presence in Charles's life continued to stir resentment among some members of the public and the royal family. It wasn't until 2005, when Charles and Camilla married, that she began to take on a more formal role within the monarchy. Despite this, the scars of the past remained, and Camilla had to work tirelessly to repair her image. Over the years, she has faced significant challenges, both in terms of public perception and the internal dynamics within the royal household. Camilla's path to becoming Queen Consort was never smooth, and even now her role is sometimes a source of tension, particularly with some of the younger members of the royal family, navigating tradition and modernity. Camilla's role. Today, Camilla's role within the royal family has always been a complex one. As Queen Consort, she holds an important position, but her history with Charles and her reputation as a divisive figure have made her a polarizing figure within the family. Her interactions with Catherine, Princess of Wales, have at times revealed the ongoing friction between the older and younger generations of royals. Catherine, with her modern sensibilities and strong connection to the younger generation, stands in stark contrast to Camilla's more traditional approach. In some ways, Camilla's role as Queen Consort has put her in a difficult position. She must balance the weight of tradition with the evolving expectations of a monarchy that is striving to modernize. At times, her more traditionalist tendencies clash with the progressive outlook championed by the younger royals such as William and Catherine. Camilla's focus on preserving the monarchy's historical elements has been seen by some as a counterbalance to the younger generation's push for change. Yet, Camilla's ability to adapt and build bridges will ultimately determine her future within the royal family. Her interactions with Princess Charlotte, particularly during the coronation, provide a glimpse into the challenges she faces as she navigates her role as Queen Consort. The tension between tradition and modernity, between authority and independence, is a theme that will continue to shape Camilla's journey within the monarchy for years to come. A royal moment of defiance. As the coronation drew to a close, the grandeur of the day's events lingered in the minds of those who had witnessed history unfold. Yet, amidst the ceremony, it was Princess Charlotte's quiet defiance and poised presence that stood out. Her reaction to Queen Consort Camilla's pointed gesture, one that was barely perceptible to most, left a lasting impression. Charlotte's subtle statement, expressed through her silence and composure, spoke volumes about her understanding of her place within the royal family and the complex web of relationships that define it. While the royal family may continue to navigate its evolving role in the modern world, Princess Charlotte's actions during the coronation offer a glimpse into the future of the monarchy. She is not just a passive participant in its history, she is already making her mark, with a quiet strength that suggests she is ready to take on the challenges of the future, whatever they may be. The context of the moment, power dynamics at play. To understand the weight of Charlotte's actions, it is essential to examine the context in which they unfolded. The coronation of King Charles III was a spectacle of royal tradition, complete with centuries-old rituals and deeply ingrained hierarchies. Westminster Abbey, the grand stage of British history, witnessed the formal transfer of power from Queen Elizabeth II to her son King Charles. The occasion was both a reaffirmation of the monarchy's ancient traditions and a moment of transition into a new era where modernization and the changing face of the royal family would inevitably come into sharper focus. But while the event appeared to unfold with the expected regality and poise, the behind-the-scenes dynamics were far from static. The royal family, despite its long-standing image of unity and decorum, is a complex institution defined by shifting alliances, hidden tensions, and competing interests. Queen Consort Camilla, who had spent decades navigating public scrutiny and her place within the royal family, was at the heart of one such tension. Having ascended to the role of Queen Consort after a long and tumultuous relationship with King Charles, Camilla remained a polarizing figure, her position in the family still very much in flux. Her interactions with Catherine, Princess of Wales, revealed much about the evolving dynamics of the royal family. Catherine, a figure of grace and modernity, represents a new generation of royals, one that seeks to blend tradition with individuality. Her role as a mother and a wife has cemented her as a pillar of stability, but also someone whose influence in the family is quietly growing. The subtle tensions between the two women during the coronation spoke volumes about the challenges of navigating the royal hierarchy, one that was built on rigid traditional lines but is now being reshaped by a younger, more progressive generation. In this environment, Charlotte's quiet actions stood out. Though she was just 8 years old, her behavior during the coronation suggested a remarkable understanding of the complex power dynamics at play. She was not merely a passive participant in the ceremony. Rather, Charlotte was an active observer, acutely aware of her place in the family and the weight of her actions. Her response to the scolding gesture from Camilla was not just a moment of rebellion, it was a statement of self-possession, an assertion of her own dignity in the face of authority. A subtle gesture, Camilla's attempt at authority. The incident in question was a seemingly small gesture, but one that carried immense weight. Queen Consort Camilla, during the course of the coronation ceremony, directed a sharp, pointed gesture toward Charlotte. It was a subtle reprimand, a correction in response to what Camilla presumably perceived as an imperfection in Charlotte's conduct. Though brief, the gesture was loaded with meaning. Camilla, as the Queen Consort, felt the need to assert authority in that moment. Her actions seemed to be an attempt to remind those present of the traditional hierarchy of the royal family. As the new Queen Consort, Camilla was still navigating her position within this deeply entrenched structure. Her history with King Charles, fraught with public scandal and the fallout from his marriage to Princess Diana, had always left her with a complicated relationship with the public, and more importantly, with certain members of the royal family. In this moment, Camilla seemed to be signaling her authority, not just as a member of the royal family, but as a figure who deserved respect, even from the younger generation. However, this attempt to assert control was met with unexpected resistance. Princess Charlotte, though young, displayed a level of maturity and self-possession that was beyond her years. While the Queen Consort's gesture was undoubtedly aimed at her, Charlotte did not flinch. She did not seek reassurance from her mother, Princess Catherine. She did not react with irritation or frustration. Instead, she sat in silence, her expression serene and composed, her posture unwavering. It was as though Charlotte understood the gravity of the moment and chose, deliberately, not to respond. This silence, this lack of reaction, was profound. It wasn't passive, it wasn't indifference, it was a choice. A quiet statement that spoke volumes about the young princess's awareness of her role and her understanding of power dynamics within the royal family. Catherine's calm response, protecting her children's dignity. For Catherine, Princess of Wales, the incident was perhaps even more telling. As a mother, she has always been fiercely protective of her children, particularly in public settings. Catherine's response to the interaction between Camilla and Charlotte was subtle but resolute. Her calm demeanor suggested that she was fully aware of the tension but would not allow it to disrupt the dignity and composure of her children. Where Camilla's gesture was an attempt to correct or assert authority, Catherine's response was an embodiment of quiet strength. She did not react to Camilla's scolding. She did not offer an overtly protective gesture toward Charlotte. Instead, Catherine's composed gaze remained steady, her posture unflinching, as she signaled to her daughter, without words, that this was not a moment to be cowed. She would not allow her children to be publicly diminished, and her silence spoke to the unwavering strength with which she guides her family. Catherine's ability to maintain composure in the face of the subtle power struggle unfolding around her was, in many ways, the key to the moment's significance. It was clear that her parenting philosophy was shaping her children in a way that transcended mere royal decorum. Catherine instills in her children a sense of respect for tradition, but also a recognition of their individuality and dignity. In Charlotte's response to Camilla's gesture, we saw the fruits of this upbringing, a young royal who knew when to submit to authority and when to assert her own autonomy. Charlotte's silent defiance, a measured response. As the coronation continued, the most significant moment of the day would come when Charlotte, in her silent defiance, demonstrated a level of maturity and agency that many would have thought unimaginable for someone her age. When the royal family bowed to King Charles, Charlotte followed the ceremony's dictates perfectly, showing her respect for the institution and the monarch. However, when it came time to bow to Camilla, Charlotte's behavior shifted. Without a word, Charlotte chose not to bow to Camilla. It was a small act, almost imperceptible to some, but it was loaded with meaning. To those watching closely, it was clear that this was no mistake. This was a conscious, deliberate decision, a calculated move to withhold respect where it was not earned. Her refusal to bow to Camilla was, in essence, a rejection of the personal dynamics at play within the royal family. While King Charles held the institution's highest office, Camilla's role as Queen Consort had been marked by years of controversy and complex relationships within the family. Charlotte's refusal to acknowledge Camilla in the traditional manner was not a public outburst, but a quiet rebuke, one that spoke to her understanding that respect must be earned, not demanded. The impact of Charlotte's actions was immediate. Observers in the royal pews exchanged knowing glances, some raised their eyebrows in surprise, while others appeared to stifle faint smiles of recognition. Even Camilla herself seemed momentarily taken aback by the gesture. Her hand tightened on the edge of her robe, her eyes narrowing slightly as she processed what had just occurred. A quiet revolution, the shifting dynamics of the royal family. Charlotte's actions were more than a personal statement. They symbolized a larger shift in the monarchy's evolving role in the modern world. The British royal family, long known for its rigid hierarchies and traditions, was beginning to show signs of a subtle transformation. The younger generation of royals, represented by William, Catherine, and their children, is increasingly asserting its influence, blending tradition with a more modern, progressive outlook. By refusing to bow to Camilla, Charlotte made a profound statement about the monarchy's future. It was no longer enough for royals to simply follow established hierarchies without question. The new generation of royals, including Charlotte, is learning to navigate their roles with a sense of independence and individuality, while still respecting the traditions that have long defined the institution. Charlotte's quiet defiance spoke to this emerging strength, showing that even the youngest members of the royal family are not bound by tradition alone. They are free to question, to assert their agency, and to shape their own legacies within the monarchy. As the coronation concluded and the royal family departed Westminster Abbey, the significance of Charlotte's actions was not lost on those who had witnessed it. For Camilla, it was likely a moment of realization. The unquestioned authority of the past was giving way to a new, more nuanced form of leadership. For Charlotte, it marked the beginning of her journey as a royal figure, a young princess whose quiet defiance had already made a profound impact on the monarchy's future.